Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. Tonight is the 1st of November. It is Thursday, November 1st, 2018. And tonight we're going to be talking about why Kazakhstan has been buying gold every month for 6 years now. That is the longest streak of any central bank by a long stretch. But before we do that, let's talk about what happened during the day. It was a very, very eventful day. Eventful in gold, eventful in silver, eventful in the dollar, eventful in the stock market, and eventful in foreign policy. Let's hit the foreign policy first. The President signed an executive order today relating to the Venezuelan gold trade. We're not going to cover that tonight. I'll be discussing that tomorrow with James Henry Anderson over at Silver Doctors. And that show should be up sometime tomorrow night. With respect to border security, Donald Trump gave a press release outlining his plans to stop what he calls the illegal caravan invasion. And it was quite an explosive press conference because he mentioned that not only was he going to end the catch and release, but they were going to set up tents to hold the people and keep the families together that were coming up in the caravan. But someone asked the president whether he would, or whether the military would fire upon any of these migrants, and he said that he told the military, and he mentioned this twice during the press conference, that if to treat rocks as rifles, which indicates that he did not want to see the military abused in any way, and it sounded like he was giving them the go-ahead to use lethal or some type of force to repel what he was characterizing as an invasion. So we'll be covering that as we go along. Now let's get over to what happened in the markets. Very interesting day today because let's start with gold. Now this is against the backdrop of a rising stock market. Second day in a row, third day in a row now. Stock Dow Jones have been up 900 points. Clawing back a lot of the losses that were incurred during much of the month of October. Let's take a look at this gold chart here. Up nearly $20. Closed at 1233.21. That was up 1.54%, and pretty much closing at the highs of the day. And you can see in the chart there, it's pretty much started out heading higher and headed higher most of the day. And that pretty much tracked tick for tick what the Dow Jones did. The Dow Jones was up 1.06%. It was up 264 points at 25,380. The NASDAQ up 128 points. It was the biggest equity exchange winner of the day, up 1.75%, up to 74.34. And also it pretty much rose straight up during the day and closed near the high. S&P, same story as the Dow Jones, both closing up 1.06% at 27.40, and that was good for 28.63% rise. Now, the dollar had a bad day, and that would explain the gold price heading higher, because generally there's a correlation, some say between 80 and 90%, between the price of gold and the dollar index. Now, tomorrow, the plan is to go through the gold and silver prices over the last 10 years. We're going to take a look at them, not just in dollar terms, but over the last 10 years in a bunch of different currencies. And we're going to see some very interesting data. But keep that for tomorrow. You'll have a lot to do tomorrow, because tomorrow you'll be listening to the Venezuelan executive order analysis with Silver Doctors and James Henry Anderson. We're also going to be taking a look at gold and silver prices in many currencies, not just this year, but over the past 10 years. But speaking of silver, let's take a look what happened with silver. This was also very interesting and probably encouraging, that the silver price had a bigger run. This is rare in recent years to have the silver price skyrocket past the gold price on a given day. And generally when that happens, it doesn't happen the next day, or the following days. It's usually a one-off, but let's track it and see what happens. Now you're looking at the silver price, high-ho silver here, up nearly a half a buck. That's good for 3.46%, nearly double the gain that the gold price had. Now, this is quite an achievement here. You opened it 24 hours ago at 1423, and that was the low, and then silver took off. Went up as high as 1480, but pretty much closed near that at 1472. And that big move in the silver price, what that did was finally made a dent in the gold-silver ratio. There you go, high down silver. Gold-silver ratio heading down from over 85 to 1 at 85.38 to 1, pulling it all the way down to 83.76. So some movement there, still well above 80 to 1, but some movement on the gold-silver ratio. Over on the cryptos. Let's take a look at the cryptos. They're starting to move. Bitcoin up nearly 1 percentage point, which is a lot. Not generally for Bitcoin, but generally for the last 2 months, Bitcoin doesn't move that much. Up to 63.66. Two big crypto conferences going on right now, one in Las Vegas and one in Malta, which they're calling Blockchain Island, where the Prime Minister himself is heavily involved in the promotion of cryptocurrencies. I think there's 5,000 attendees at that particular crypto conference. Bitcoin Cash up 0.29% at 426. Ethereum close to 200, up almost a percentage point. Litecoin, the big winner, up 1.5% at $50.57. Litecoin had spent the last couple of days actually below $50 for the first time in a long time. Bitcoin celebrating, or the publication of the Satoshi white paper yesterday on Halloween. Ethereum Classic almost up a percentage point at 9.07. Now, before we get over to Kazakhstan, let's just take a look at a couple other things we've been tracking pretty much on a daily basis, or try to. I don't have, oh yeah, I do. The gold Dow Jones gold ratio. Remember, we're always a day behind on these charts, but that's okay. Probably wasn't much movement today either, since both gold and the Dow went higher. But here you see the Dow Jones gold ratio. It's 20 to 1. And it has come down since the market kind of hit the skids and gold started to move higher. But we're far away from our 2016 low when we were under 13 to 1. Now people say when you get closer to 1 to 1, it's time to rotate out of your gold and into stocks again. But it doesn't look like we're anywhere near that. Also, we saw today group of investors, LBMA, was talking about a rise in the gold price to near 1,600 by next year. That would represent a 25% increase. So maybe we're finally seeing the end of this multi-year bear market in the precious metals. And we'll be tracking the Dow gold ratio as we head along. Let's see what else we have. And just for fun, let's take a look at what's happening over in the silver COMEX vaults. Remember, we've been following the Brinks and JP Morgan vaults especially. Looks like they shed a little of their silver over at the Brinks depository. This is the 1,000 ounce good delivery bars that Brinks holds that are COMEX eligible and registered for trading. And the combined total now is just shy of 50 million ounces. They had actually hit 50 million ounces a couple of days ago, but now they're just under, well, they're at 49,275,000. Remember, that number means that's an entire year's record Silver Eagle production, and 47 million in 2015, and the Brinks depository actually has more silver than that. They could melt them all down, all those bars down, and make an entire year's supply, record supply of American Silver Eagles. And the reason that's astounding is, if you look in 2016 early, they were under 20 million ounces. So they've really built up their stockpile. And these are all client funds, I would imagine. They're not held by the Brinks company in their name. Now, JP Morgan is a little controversy over who owns this. I'm not going to get into that discussion tonight, but it is now at its high. You can see we covered that little period where it went down in September. As the price fell, they actually lost some of their silver. They went from about 146 million ounces down to 139 million ounces. But then in October, and now, well, this ends at the end of October, they added it all back and some more, now with 150,379,710 ounces, thanks to Nick Laird at Gold Charts Russ for putting that into chart form. I think those charts are very useful. Very good service at Gold Charts or Us. Go check that out if you're interested in getting more charts and more data on gold and silver than you can possibly digest. All right, now let's take a look at our story. So our story is, if you guys have never seen the Kazakh flag, well, there she is. That is the Kazakhstan flag. I don't know what it stands for. I don't know what the stuff on the left is. I don't know. Next time I will know next month when we go through it. Looks like some type of a bird and the sun over it. Very nice looking flag though. All right, but you're not here for a history lesson, although sometimes we do have history lessons, but tonight we're not going to have one on Kazakhstan. We're going to talk about their prodigious gold buying. And I'm going to show you a chart now, and then I'm going to take you over to what's going on with Kazakhstan. Now this is Kazakhstan has added gold to reserves for the last 72 months in a row. That is 6 years worth of gold being added. Now you can see that is almost 335 tons. It's 334.9847. I calculated that. And they did that, and you can see they basically have been adding about 100,000 to 150,000 ounces a month, each and every month. And that's about 3 to 4, maybe almost 5 tons a month, depending on the month. But they just added, or they just reported that they added 120,000 ounces, or 3.7324 tons of gold to the reserves in September. That brings them up to 334.9 tons. And that pulls them ahead of, or they pulled ahead 2 months ago, ahead of Saudi Arabia. And they're also ahead of the United Kingdom. We're going to show you the charts from 11 to 20, the countries that have the most gold. And Kazakhstan is now sitting at 13. Gold, as a percentage of reserves for Kazakhstan's overall official reserve position, is now 42.5%. Now that's a pretty big deal, 42.5%. Let me just make sure I have a chart here. Oh, I don't. I'm going to have to pull that chart while I'm talking. Yeah, so they've got 42.5% in gold, but you would think, or maybe you wouldn't think, but if someone told you to think about it, you might think that Kazakhstan, the currency of Kazakhstan would be, you would say, well, that's almost like a half a backing, and therefore that's pretty good. Well, we're going to see in a bit, and what I'm doing now is I'm going to pull the chart, is that the Kazakhstan currency, you probably don't even know what it's called the tenge, is not a very strong currency. So it does highlight that just having gold in your reserves doesn't necessarily mean that your currency is going to be one of the global strong currencies. And now we've seen that with Russia. Now you guys have been following, I do report on the Russian gold reserves, and Russia has been buying gold more than any other central bank. Russia's been buying gold. They don't buy it every month. Once in a while they skip a month, but it seems like they're on a plan to buy gold every year in amounts over 200 tons, and they did that again in their most recent purchase this year. They're almost at 200 tons, and they'll probably might even have a record year this year in the amount of gold that they add to the reserves. Okay, so I've got that chart. We're going to show you that in a minute. But Kazakhstan now has been increasing its gold reserves, and in 2016 Kazakhstan added 36 tons of gold. 2017 they added 40 tons of gold. This year they're going to add more than that, and 36 tons to 40 tons is well over 1 million ounces of gold. It's not a lot of gold, but it's enough to be more than any other country's central bank that's been adding gold in a given year, other than Russia. Now, what the two have in common is they're both gold producers. So Kazakhstan, let's take a look now at another chart. Kazakhstan has really boosted its gold production, And they're doing almost identically what Russia's doing, but on a smaller scale, is converting a good portion of their domestic mining production. They're converting those tenge into gold and putting them into their country's central bank, just like Russia puts their gold into the central bank of the Federation of Russia. Kazakhstan's doing the same. You can see here, since 2012, they only produced 40 tons of gold, and if you go back to 2000, it was much less. But they basically doubled it, and they plan to really ramp up to over 100 tons a year. And it looks like as they ramp the gold up, they just add a greater percentage of that gold to their reserves. So it's a pretty good deal. So if you have a weak currency like the tenge or the ruble, whatever currency you have, we saw this in Turkey, it always pays to hold reserves in gold, especially if you can get your hands on it quickly and easily. And if you have your own gold mining production, well, then you've got it going on, because you can get your gold. Here is the Kazakhstan tenge chart, and this chart is showing the price of gold in the Kazakhstan tenge. And you can see it's more than doubled since 2014 and 2016, despite the fact that Kazakhstan continues to add gold to her reserves. I mean, they have, let me see if I can get the exact number. They have, let's see, how much do they have? They have 334 tons. They've got a total of about 29 billion in reserves, of which Kazakhstan's gold was worth $12.751 billion. So they got $12 billion worth of gold as part of their reserves, but that's not helping out the tenge. And it's going to cost you a lot of money to buy, or a lot of tenge to buy gold. I mean, it's near a record high, and we're nowhere near a record high in gold in US dollars. And again, we're going to go through that tomorrow in a variety of currencies, and you can really see how well gold holds up against pretty much every fiat currency. It's the dollar that throws off the, I guess you would say, the allure of gold, because somehow, I do understand why. The reason the dollar sometimes does better than gold is because of the clear demand for it as a reserve asset, and also to be used in commerce. And that use value is what gives it its value, not its intrinsic value. Obviously, it's not gold. And again, that's why people, maybe they don't see this. That's why Bitcoin, Litecoin also have value, even though they're not fiat currencies, but they're not backed by anything other than a network. It's the fact that people want them. They're held as that to a far lesser extent than dollars. I'm just saying that use and demand do give a currency value. And one of the things about gold, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow as well when we talk about Venezuela, is gold is not really used as much as a currency, certainly not by individuals. And it is used, but it's more of an underhanded way of doing international business. And it's not used as much as a medium of exchange. And that's probably another reason why the gold price versus the dollar is subdued, and the gold doesn't outpace the dollar every year. And the way you would see gold outpacing the dollar every year is you'd have gold gains every year, and we're seeing this year gold is lost. You would say it's lost value against the dollar, but it's gained value against many other currencies. Okay, what else about Kazakhstan do we need to know? Well, that $12 billion worth of gold is interesting, because the GDP of Kazakhstan itself is only $160 billion. So they actually have 8% of their GDP tied up in gold. So Kazakhstan, nearly 43% of their reserves in gold. And as I mentioned, adding gold to reserves 72 months in a row. And doesn't seem like they're going to stop doing that. Yeah, so they've got now 22 tons of gold a year produced in 2008. And that last chart I showed you, that had gone up to 40 tons by 2012. Let's see where Kazakhstan winds up. I mean, it puts them in some pretty august company amongst gold holding nations, because Kazakhstan is not a big, as we mentioned, their GDP 160 billion. It's not a big economic powerhouse, and that explains why the tenge isn't exactly a valuable currency. But let's take a look at where they are. It's a pretty big achievement, I think, in order to come up with this much gold. And look at Belgium, 227 tons to the far right. You got to go to Turkey, then Austria, 280, Spain, 281, Lebanon. I have to look into the history of why Lebanon has as much gold as it does. United Kingdom, I know why they have as little gold as they do, because they sold a lot of it. Brown's Bottom back in the early 2000s was then Gordon Brown, and he was the Chancellor of the Exchequer, sold off gold when the gold price was very low. He later became Prime Minister. Saudi Arabia, 322 tons. Kazakhstan, though, look at that, 334. That places them in 13th place behind Portugal and Taiwan. I don't count the ECB. I don't count them as a country. And if you want to see the full list, go over to Smaulgld.com, and you can see the... let me show you. If you go to the top under gold, it's a scroll over tab on the Smaulgld.com page, and you go to, I think it says gold top 40. There'll be a drop down menu. You click on that. That should be updated, and you can see the top 40. And again, tomorrow we're going to go through different issue is gold priced in other currencies. I also have, if you want to look up gold per capita, and you can look up on Smaulgld, type in gold per capita, Smaulgld, you can see which countries have the most gold per person, which is an interesting stat. And it's not China because they got a lot of people. Okay, let's see if there's any more charts for you. If not, we're going to get over to the comments and see what you guys have to say. Yeah, let's see. Gold silver ratio, Kazakhstan flag. But what I got to do before, one thing that I do have to do, yes, is you've got to see your Smaulgld mugs up on the screen, because it would not be a Smaulgld live stream without a mug pump. I'm going to actually tease you and show you all 4 mugs that are available. The Smaulgld Classic and Super Classic mugs. The Super Classic is to the left, Classic to the right, are available from the Smaulgld site. If you do buy tonight, I'll throw in a Smaulgld Game Changer Eraser. Shipping is free. It's priority shipping. You get a tracking number. I ship them out in the morning. To the right is the Smaulgld Travel Mug. And below that is the Smaulgld Espresso Mug. They're all available at the Smaulgld store. And all those links are on the Smaulgld site. You can check them out at Smaulgld.com. All right, let's see what the questions are, what the comments are. Pablo Pina is a regular. It's good to see you. Pablo says hello. Hello. DRPIDK. I don't know. How do you expect a poor boy to know that? I'm wondering what this is about. I don't even know where Catstan... Oh, Catstan. Yeah, where is Catstan? Is much less who Stan is, and why is he buying gold? Yep. Boston Bob. I thought the time gold really takes off is when silver outperforms gold. No, it's the other way around. It's the only time silver takes off is when gold is going well for a long period of time. Silver does not lead gold, except at the very end when silver decides to take its big spike. I don't think that was the big spike. I think that was just some catch-up being done after 6 years of underperformance. We'll get to that tomorrow, too. We're going to do silver as well in foreign currencies. Pablo Pina, Small, you mentioned catch and release. Fed Chairman Powell saying reducing immigrants could slow economy. This statement at Trump. Yeah, I think people confuse immigration and legal immigration and illegal immigration. Clearly, Trump has said that we are going to need immigrants because he's claiming in his robust economy that companies are going to need people hired. But he's not saying that we need them to come in the way through a caravan. It's a completely different issue. But yes, it could be. You're right. It could be Powell just taking a swipe. A lot of people do take those types of swipes they just throw immigration all into one bundle and they say, oh, Trump's against immigration. I think it's not even more nuanced than that. It's just not. There is a difference between selecting the people that come to your country and just taking anyone who comes in and hoping for the best that they'll all find their way to gainful employment. Roger Henley, silver price up, yay. Let's see, Pablo Pena. These two entities can't influence each other, they are separate. I don't know which two entities you're talking about. Tomorrow, silver down. Yeah, that's been the case. When you see these spikes in silver, they're not sustainable or haven't been sustainable in recent years. But you never know. I mean, today was a very, very, very odd day in that everything was up. Cryptos, gold, silver, equities. Only the dollar was down. What was oil today? The oil dropped late in the day. That's kind of separate. All right, let's see what else we got here. I wish you would discuss this Crypto Shrugged author. And that is a book, Crypto Shrugged, which I recommend reading. I wish you would discuss Kazakhstan in a Borat voice. Yes. I think anyone understand the point then. You need a lot of visuals with Borat. Roger Henley, in the film Borat, he didn't say anything about gold being a local commodity in his country of Kazakhstan. Yeah. Very nice. I'm happy with your mother-in-law for gold. Yes, yes, there's lots of fun to have with Borat. All right, let's see. Jaded Optimist. Recently changed the name of the capital to Astana. Sounds like, yeah, there's a whole lot of stories about. It used to be the capital was Almaty, and they moved it to this kind of new. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't want to say newfangled, but it's supposed to be like city of the future. That's the type of thing. And they're trying to do that also in Saudi Arabia. They want to build one of these futuristic cities. Yes, you mentioned Venezuela today. Mr. Trump put a sanction on Venezuela gold exports game changer. Yeah, we're going to talk about that tomorrow on the Silver Doctors podcast with James Henry Anderson. That'll be on the Silver Doctors YouTube channel, not on Smaulgld. I'll take a link from it. It'll be on the Smaulgld website as well. Crypto Shrugged author exports. Wow, I got to look that up. I heard they're talking about forking Dash. Yeah, every crypto will probably go through some fork for whatever reason. I mean, Ethereum went through a fork. You got Ethereum Classic, you got Classic, you got Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash. There's a Litecoin Cash too. All right. Jaded Optimist. Venezuela was doing fine until they took in too many Colombian refugees, and then they were smacked with sanctions and the price of oil plummeted. I think they took in too much socialism too. Crypto Shrugged author. I'm drinking Jim Beam from my Smaulgld mug in Mexico. Mucho success. Very good. Yeah, I see a lot of people on here have purchased Smaulgld mugs. Who's going to be the next tonight? There's Carl Joseph DeMarco. He's a proud owner as well. Kazakhstan is buying gold every month. That is all you... Oh, I'm sorry. Kazakhstan is buying gold every month. That is all you need to know. And then I'm going to buy gold because Kazakhstan is buying gold. Central banks are buying gold, hand over fist. I was doing that NPC voice before NPCs became popular, and it was kind of a nod to our, I don't know if I want to say hyper bullish or perma bullish for the wrong reasons, gold and silver bugs. I'm very positive on both metals, but not for the reasons that the gold and silver NPCs claim. JP Morgan has 800 million ounces of silver, and that is why I am buying silver. They must know something. They are going to let the price ride, and then I'm going to be rich like JP Morgan. COMEX is going to default. Then it will be game over. When China rolls its gold into a stadium and says to the United States, show us yours. And when we can't find it because we don't have it, because there is no gold at Fort Knox, it will be game over. And then China will back the yuan with gold. There will be a gold back yuan game changer. All right, politics and the Fed, two entities. Yes, they're supposed to be separate, but they're not. All right. Can't wait for the SD interview. Love that show. Yep. Carl Joseph DeMarco. I love my Smaulgld mug. All right, well, that's about it. Those are the comments, some good comments. Tomorrow, sign in. We're going to do how often does silver outperform gold? But that's only part of the question. Then it's how often does gold outperform other currencies? So we'll have some charts tomorrow, spend some time on that. That'll take us into the weekend. I'll probably do a little predictions on the midterm elections, see what's going on there. And then I still have on the Smaulgld site, I've got to get up the charts for the Shanghai Gold Exchange and the Indian gold and silver imports. So thanks everyone for listening. If you enjoyed this, please consider becoming a Smaulgld patron. Those are always good people. They're the best people. Let me show you how you can become a Smaulgld patron. Become a game-changing Smaulgld patron. There you go. There's your link. And what else can you do? Well, you're going to want the Smaulgld site, but I'm not going to, you know how to get to smaulgld.com. But if you want those other Smaulgld products like the travel mug or the other espresso mug or a t-shirt or a hat, Smaulgld hat, you can try that link as well. That is the Smaulgld site. All right, everyone. Thanks again for listening. And we'll see you mañana por la mañana? No, tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night. Have a good night. Around 8 o'clock, I think, tomorrow. 8, 9 o'clock.